Welcome, friends. Thank you for joining us this day as we continue our study of this book called Revelation. Today we're going to study what I regard as a very interesting and important subject. And that subject is, where are we in time? The book of Revelation is the last of the books of the New Testament. Whether or not it was the last book that was written might be argued by some. John wrote 5 letters. We know he wrote the Gospel of John and then those 3 short epistles of his in the book of Revelation. Did he write some of those short epistles after Revelation? We don't really know. More than likely, Revelation was the conclusion of his. But while we may not know just exactly when and what time where the books were written after this, we do know that it was a very significant passage. It was a book written to the churches of Asia, not just to them alone, but the word 7 was a number that signified a matter of perfectness. And in it, the apostle addressed the varied assets and liabilities of these churches, the things that were their things they were excelling in, and those things that they had more room to. And so he will deal basically in the entirety of the book with the issues that were those things that troubled them. But the book goes on and goes all the way through the matter of finally the great white throne judgment and the matter of the separation and individuals whose names are not written in the book of life being cast into the lake of fire. So it does deal with the matter of the end time. But as we said, most of this book is that is addressed to the needs of these early Christians. Where are we in that time? As we look and we see in the book talks about the circumstances of the churches of Asia and the churches in general, and how that at the time that John was writing, great persecutions were being raised against Christians, and it was a time that was a time for many individuals of despair. And as John writes to them, he deals with their problems. He describes these early Christians as the 5th seal is opened, as he opens the seals in the beginning of the book. He sees souls under the altar, and they have been martyred for the sacrifice, for the cause of Jesus and for the faith. And they cry out, "How long, O Lord, will it be before that will judge us?" And each one was given a white robe, told to rest a little while, till the rest of their brethren that would suffer as they should join them. Then as the writer continues, he shows that there were 4 enemies that oppressed these early Christians. First of all, him who was the archangel in an evil way of all of their problems that they had. The great red dragon who is introduced in the 12th chapter, the devil. His war with the radiant woman, his efforts to destroy the man-child. And then the rest of the book from chapters 13 on deal with his war with those that were the seed of the woman, those that were Christians that obeyed the gospel. And as he deals with that, he is that great enemy. And then he finds allies to help him. In the 13th chapter, 2 of his allies emerge. One is the beast that comes out of the sea, and that beast that came out of the sea was a red beast, but it was one that was like a leper. It was one that had feet like a bear. It was one that had a head like a lion, and it was one that had a voice of a dragon, and it was a fearsome beast. And then we look and we find that to that beast was given authority over the nations for 42 months, over the Christians, and they would suffer terribly at his hand. And to join him and help him in his opposition to those that were Christians, another creature arose, the beast out of the earth. He was called henceforth the false prophet. And he was one that compelled individuals to acknowledge Caesar's Lord. He's God. And if he didn't, he did so at the jeopardy of his life. And Christians could not do that. And this is the reason why it was such a turbulent time for these individuals. Then, of course, we see later, introduced in the book, is the woman, harlot, Babylon. That was centered in the city of Rome, that city that ruled over the nations, and all of the lust and the pleasures and all of the things that were temptations were there that brought about the death of many. So we go on through that, and we see that there was this war, and then there was a battle that was called the Battle of Armageddon. And that battle was depicted in the 16th chapter, and then again in the 19th chapter. And in that battle, we find that it involved the kings from the east as they warred against the beast out of the sea. And they met them on the field called Armageddon. And fighting against those kings from the east were the dragon, the sea beast, the earth beast. And the sea beast and the earth beast was defeated. They were cast in the lake of fire. And then as the writer continues, he introduces something else. In the 20th chapter of this book, we see that an angel appears. And this angel that appears has a chain in his hand. He looks around. He has a key in his hand. And he looks around for the dragon. He binds him, the devil. He has a key to the bottomless pit, and he puts the devil in this bottomless pit and locks the door over him. And then we find that he's sailed chained for 1,000 years. But while this takes place, we see that there is a resurrection. It's called the resurrection that had to do with these souls. It wasn't something that was a physical resurrection. It was the vindication of a cause. We saw the souls that were in the field seal, and they were under the altar. But now we look at them again in the 20th chapter. They're not under the altar anymore. They're on thrones, and they're reigning with Christ, and they reign with him for 1,000 years. And the devil is bound. Satan is bound for 1,000 years. Now, the binding of Satan and the reign of the saints with Christ is concurrent, takes place at the same time. While Satan's bound, the saints are reigning, and Christ is reigning. And then as we look in Revelation, the 20th chapter, we find that after this 1,000 years have transpired, Satan be loose for a little while, and he will be one that makes war once more with the saints, and he gathers the mobs and massive armies from Gog and Magog, fight against the saints. Fire comes from heaven and destroys them. And then we see that as the scene continues, John saw a great white throne. He saw judgment. He saw all the dead, the great and small, standing before the thrones. Books opened, and another book was opened. And as John looked at those, he saw then that those that were on the Master's right hand were rewarded with eternal life. And those that were on the left hand, whose names were not written in the book of life, were cast into the lake of fire. And that signals the end of our world. Where are we in time as far as these events? Well, we know that we're not in the first century. We know that we're ones that are not ones that are suffering at the hand of the Roman Empire. That's past and gone. And we know that as far as the Battle of Armageddon is concerned, it was that involved the defeat of the Roman, an oppressive Roman Empire. We know that. And so while there are many battles fought that through the centuries will continue to be fought, decisive battles, nevertheless, the battle of Armageddon that's described in the 16th chapter and in the 19th chapter is past. It occurred when the Roman Empire was finally defeated. Its power as a world power to be able to oppress the people of God, fight against the people of God, that was destroyed forever. And we find that, yes, there was something else that would take place, and that was the binding of Satan. And the binding of Satan occurred after the Battle of Armageddon. The Battle of Armageddon that affected the defeat of the Roman Empire occurred about AD 325. And the end of it was when Constantinople signed the decree of tolerance, the addictive tolerance, and oppression of those that were Christians would no longer be practiced by the Roman government. And at the time that that battle was fought and God's people were victorious, Satan was bound. And saints reigned. In the 20th chapter of Revelation, we see the saints. And these are the ones that are souls. He doesn't see bodies. He just sees souls. Souls of them that have been martyred. And judgment was given to them. Remember? Back in the opening of the fifth seal that they cried, how long will it not be until you judge us? You judge the world for the danger, for the hurt, the injury we've had. Now, as they cried for judgment, we see in the 20th chapter judgment given to them. Their cause is vindicated. They have been victorious, and their cause is that's victorious. And Satan, at the same time, is bound. My friend, we're looking at the time in which exists right now. Satan is bound for 1,000 years. Saints are reigning. Their cause is victorious for 1,000 years. Christ is reigning with his saints. His reigns in heaven, not on earth, but he's reigning 1,000 years. Remember, 1,000 is a definite number for an indefinite period of time. And the Apostle Peter said that, remember this, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is a day. Jesus teaches us that 1,000 years is an indefinite period of time. And someone says, well, you mean Satan's bound now? Yes. You mean he doesn't do any evil? No, I didn't say that. He is bound. He's restrained. He doesn't have a world power to do his bidding anymore. The Roman oppressive power is gone. It is not any longer a universal worldwide empire that fights against the Christians. Oh, Satan affects and does things that is very hurtful. But he's bound. He's limited. He's limited not only in that, he's limited as far as his power to affect man with demon possession and other things. Will this last forever? No, not forever. We're in that period of time now. It won't last forever. At some time in the future, we don't know when, the record declares in Revelation 20th chapter that Satan's going to be loosed for a little while. And he's going to gather together the armies of Gog and Magog, not a nation by that name, but as we look in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, the only time in the Bible where this same term is found, it was descriptive of those that were the common enemies of those that were Israelites that came against them and did battle against them. And so Gog and Magog are the common enemies that Satan will gather. Lust, covetousness, envy, spite, hate. But it will be that will multiply to a degree that is heightened. And yet, Though he will gather together the hordes from Gog and Magog, God will destroy them. And then the Bible says that John saw something else. He saw a great white throne. He saw the dead, all the dead. For the sea gave it the dead that were in it. Death and Hades gave the dead that were in them. And they were judged, every man according to their works. And if that man was not found written in the book of life, he was cast in the lake of fire. Now, we don't know when this is going to come. We hear people talk all the time about people going to, yes, that there are signs of the Lord's coming. No, my friends, there isn't any sign of the Lord's coming. People say, have you never read Matthew 24? Yes, I've read it. But the signs that are in Matthew 24 describe the events of the destruction of the city of Jerusalem, which Jesus said would take place in the time that his disciples lived. Look at it. Go back and read it. You will see the signs that Jesus gave in Matthew 24 were to those of that generation looking for the destruction of the physical city of Jerusalem, which did occur. But you will likewise notice that when Jesus spoke on that day, he was asked by his disciples two questions. When are these things going to take place? What's the sign? And he gave them the signs of the destruction of Jerusalem. But then of the coming of yourself and of the end of the world. And Jesus said, of that day and that hour knows no man. No man. The angels don't know. Even the Son of Man doesn't know. No one but God knows. That's what Jesus said. And so individuals that say they know that the coming of the Lord is right at hand, about to take place, and sometimes people specify and say this is when it's going to occur. My friend, don't trust anybody who says he knows more than the Lord does, because the Lord said, I don't know. The Father knows. No, my friends, it will come as a thief in the night. But there is one thing we do know. There's not going to be two physical resurrections. There's going to be one resurrection. It's going to come at the end of the world. Jesus said through the Apostle Peter, the hour cometh which all that are in the tomb shall hear his voice and shall come forth. They that done good, the resurrection of life, and they that done evil, on the resurrection of judgment. They're going to come the same hour, the same time that the righteous are raised, the dead, wicked are going to be raised. And Peter said, the day of the Lord comes as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth and the works that are therein are going to all be burned up. And then he says, seeing that these things are to occur, what manner of person ought we to be in all holy living and godliness, looking for and earnestly desiring the coming of the day of the Lord? The heavens are going to pass away with a great noise. The elements are going to melt with fervent heat. We're going to stand before the great white throne. And when we stand before the Master at that time, my friend, we're going to receive the deeds done in the body, according to what we've done, whether it's good or bad. Matthew 25 describes it. Jesus come with the angels, his power, his glory, gathered before him all the nations of the earth, and he separated them as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. Puts the goats on the left, the sheep on the right. And those on the right, he will say, come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. I was hungry, you fed me. Thirsty, you gave me to drink. Naked, you clothed me. Stranger, you took me. Sick and in prison, you visited me. Then I asked, Lord, when did we see you in such a circumstance? And said, inasmuch as you did one less to one of these, my brethren, you did it unto me. Then to those on the left, he says, depart, the eternal, cursed, into the eternal fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. I was hungry, you didn't feed me. I was thirsty, didn't give me to drink. I was a stranger, you didn't take me in. I was sick and in prison, you didn't visit me. And they said, Lord, when did we see you hungry, thirsty, stranger, and didn't minister to you? He said, inasmuch as you did it not unto one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it not unto me. Not going to be two places, or more than two places, in that judgment, my friend. Now, there's going to be three places. You're going to either be on the left hand or on the right hand. I'm going to be in one of those places, and so are you. What's the Lord going to say to me at that day? Will he say, depart, or will he say, come? What's he going to say to you on that day? Is he going to say, come, or will he say, depart? Can't change the edict then, but you can do something about it right now. Today is the day of preparation. Hasten to be obedient to the Lord. Obey him. Follow him all the days of your life. And it will be well with your soul. Thank you, friend. May God bless you. And may you be persuaded and determined from this day forth to serve God with your whole heart, soul, and being.